जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय गोपी जना वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी जय गोपी जना वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी गोपी जना वल्लभा यशोधानंदन व्रज जनरंजन यशोधानंद यशोधानंदन व्रज जनरंजन यशोधानंद यमुना तीरावनचारी यमुना तीरा यमुना तीरावनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी राधा माधव हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 जय राधा विनोद राधे जय जगन्नाथ जय बलदेवा सुभद्रमाय जय सुदर्शना जय नित्यानंद नटवर गौर सुंदर नित्यानंद नटवर गौर सुंदर प्रभुपाद जय जय प्रभुपाद श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय श्रीमद् भागवत महापुराण की श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। So we are reading from Canto 5, Chapter 1, text number 28 and 29. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। अन्यस्यामपि जायायां त्रयः पुत्रा आसन् उत्तमस्तामसो रैवत इति मन्वन्तर आधिपतयः। अन्यस्याम् other api also jayayam in the wife trayah three putraha sons asan there were uttamah tamasah raivatah iti thus manu antara of the manvantara millennium adipatayah rulers. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki. In his other wife, Maharaj Priyavrata begot three sons, named Uttama, Tamasa, and Raivata. All of them later took charge of Manvantara millenniums. In every day of Brahma, there are 14 Manvantaras. The duration of one Manvantara, the lifespan of one Manu, is 71 yugas. And each yuga is 4,320,000 years. Almost all the Manus selected to rule the Manvantaras came from the family of Maharaj Priyavrata. Three of them are particularly mentioned herein, namely Uttama, Tamasa, and Raivata. I'll read this verse. Like to repeat? Evam upashamayaneshu स्वतनेषु अथ जगति पतिर जगति मर्बुदानि एकादश परिवत्सराणाम् अव्याहताखिल पुरुषकार सार संवृत दोर्दंडयुगला पीडित मौर्वी गुण स्तनित विरमित धर्म परिपक्षो बर्हिष्मत्याश्चानुदिनम् एधमान प्रमोद प्रसरण यौषीण्य व्रीडा प्रमुषित हासावलोक रुचिरक्ष्वेलि आदिभिः पराभूयमान विवेक इवानवबुध्यमान इव महामन बुभुजे. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. After Kavi, Mahavira and Savana were completely trained in the Paramahamsa stage of life, Maharaj Priyavrata ruled the universe for 11 arbhuda of years. Whenever he was determined to fix his arrow upon his bowstring with his two powerful arms, all opponents of the regulative principles of religious life would flee from his presence in fear of the unparalleled prowess he displayed in ruling the universe. He greatly loved his wife Barhishmati, and with the increase of days, their exchange of nuptial love also increased. By her feminine behavior, as she dressed herself, walked, got up, smiled, laughed, and glanced about, Queen Bharishmati increased his energy. Thus, although he was a great soul, he appeared lost in the feminine conduct of his wife. He behaved with her just like an ordinary man, but actually he was a great soul. Purport. In this verse, the word dharma paripakshaha, opponents of religious principles refer not to a particular faith, but to varnashrama dharma, the division of society, socially and spiritually, into four varnas, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Shudra, and four ashramas, Brahmacharya, Grahastha, Vanaprastha and Sannyasa. To maintain proper social order and help the citizens gradually progress towards the goal of life, namely spiritual understanding, the principles of varnashrama dharma must be accepted. From this verse, Maharaj Priyavrata appears to have been so strict in maintaining this institution of varnashrama dharma that anyone neglecting it would immediately flee from his presence as soon as the king warned him by fighting or administering light punishment. Indeed, Maharaj Priyavrata would not have to fight, for simply because of his strong determination, they dared not disobey the rules and regulations of varnashrama dharma. It is said that unless human society is regulated by varnashrama dharma, it is no better than a bestial society of cats and dogs. Maharaj Priyavrata therefore strictly maintained varnashrama dharma by his extraordinary, unparalleled prowess. To maintain such a life of strict vigilance, one needs encouragement from his wife. In the varnashrama dharma system, certain classes, such as the Brahmanas and Sannyasis, do not need encouragement from the opposite sex. Kshatriyas and Grihasthas, however, actually need the encouragement of their wives in order to execute their duties. Indeed, a Grihastha or Kshatriya cannot properly execute his responsibilities without the association of his wife. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personally admitted that a Grihastha must live with a wife. Kshatriyas were even allowed to have many wives to encourage them in discharging the duties of government. The association of a good wife is necessary in a life of karma and political affairs. To execute his duties properly, therefore, Maharaj Priyavrata took advantage of his good wife Bharishmati, who was always very expert in pleasing her great husband by properly dressing herself, smiling and exhibiting her feminine bodily features. Queen Bharishmati always kept Maharaj Priyavrata very encouraged, and thus he executed his governmental duty very properly. In this verse, Iva has twice been used to indicate that Maharaj Priyavrata acted exactly like a hand-picked husband and thereby seemed to have lost his sense of human responsibility. Actually, however, he was fully conscious of his position as a spirit soul. Although he seemingly behaved like a acquiescent karmi husband, Maharaj Priyavrata thus ruled the universe for 11 arbuda of years. One arbuda consists of 100 million years. And Maharaj Priyavrata ruled the universe for 11 such arbudas. Hare Krishna. Let's welcome Avadhu Chandraprabhu from Davangere by chanting once Hare Krishna mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurumilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Svabhadantitam Vandeham Shri Guroh Shri Utapadakamala Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatanvitam Tam Srivam Sadhvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pacharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarane Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Padayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gurtise Namaha. He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Taptakanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vandavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Mukam Gurti Vachadam Bangam Langete Girim Yat Prabhatamaham Vande Shri Guru Dinataran. Hare Krishna. In these two verses, how Parikshit Maharaj is ruling the kingdom Priyavrata Maharaj is ruling the kingdom is being described. We saw how Priyavrata was not interested in ruling the kingdom and taking the responsibility, but he was actually convinced and he was actually instructed by his father Manu, Swayambhu Manu, and Brahmaji. So, by the order of both of them, he took up this charge of taking care of the entire Bhumandala, you can say. Later on, it will be described how Priyavrata ruled the entire Bhumandala and gave each of the Dvipa to one of his sons to rule. And all of them established wonderful rule there and dharmic rule. And that's the responsibility of a king, that he has to take care of the kingdom, he has to take care of Praja, the citizens, very nicely. So that they become Krishna conscious. They follow dharma, especially Varnashrama dharma. And the purpose of Varnashrama is nothing but Haritoshanam. Samsiddhir Haritoshanam, which is to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So we can learn some leadership lessons from the life of Priyavrata. One of the duty of a leader is to give a successor. If a leader cannot create another leader, then he is not a good leader because he could not create a succession. Because till the time he is there, he may do nicely, but after that, what? Isn't it? There should be a good successor. At any point of time, he should see that somebody is there who can take care. Right? And before he retires, he should make a qualified person to sit on the throne. And that was one of the important duties of the kings in the past, that they wanted a son who can rule the kingdom. So that's why they used to do a lot of vrata and tapasya to actually get a son who can be a good successor. So this is one of the important duties of the king. So Maharaj Priyavrata, understanding that he will not be the permanent ruler of this world, so he gave about 13 sons. So he had two wives. One wife was Barhishmati, and there was another wife whose name is not mentioned. So from the first wife he got 10 sons, 3 of whom became sannyasis, which we discussed yesterday. One volume nicely described about sannyas ashram. So they took to sannyas. So what were their names? Kavi and Kavi, Mahavira and Savana. So they lived a life of complete celibacy. Right? Thus trained in brahmachari life from the beginning of childhood, they were very conversant with the highest perfection known as Paramahamsa Ashrama. So they became Paramahamsas. And remaining 7 of them, they became Kshatriyas and they became Grahasthas and they ruled the kingdom. So for sannyasis, brahmacharis, there is no need to enter Grahastha ashram. So there is no need of that support because they are self-satisfied that they can go on in the Krishna consciousness, in their duties. Their sadhana itself empowers them and inspires them to do service in that ashrama. But Prabhupada says in this purport that Grahasthas need that kind of encouragement. We'll discuss that at the later part of this session. But initially we'll discuss about how from Second wife, he got 3 sons, Uttama, Tamasa and Raivata. So these 3 sons became the kings of the next 3 Manvantaras. Swayambhu Manu is the first Manvantaras, Manu. So third, fourth and fifth Manvantaras. So here you will see. In the second Manvantara, Swayambhu Manu, first Manvantara, Swayambhu Manu is the Manu. And his sons are Uttanapad, Priyavrata and Devati, Akuti, Prasuti or ladies. Then there are other Manus, like Swarochisa, son of Agni, the second Manvantara's king. And third one is Uttama, son of Swayambhu Manu. So son of Priyavrata. Okay. And then Uttama, Tamasa, Raivata, all 3 are brothers. So they became successive rulers of the Manu. And then Chakshusha is the 6th Manvantara. And right now, the 7th Manvantara is going on, which is Vaivasvata Manvantara. So they give very powerful kings. So the Priyavrata Maharaj did his duty very responsibly. So Manvantara Adipataya. And each Manvantara is 71 yugas, 71 into 43 lakh years. One Devayuga is 43 lakh, 20,000 years. So into 71. So that is one Manvantara. And like this, 14 Manvantaras in one day of Brahma. So 1,000 Divyugas becomes one day of Brahma, one Kalpa. So different sons of Swayambhu Manu and their descendants took up the position of being the Manus of respective Manvantaras. So that is described in the first verse. So one thing is that a leader should produce another leader, train another person who can take up the task or services. So Srila Prabhupada was one such leader who established ISKCON single-handedly. He was alone when he established ISKCON in America in 1966. But within 3 years, Prabhupada established GBC, Governing Body Commission. And he empowered them. He said, you will be the managing authority for ISKCON. So you manage the centers. You take care of finances, you take care of temple purchases and constructions and then book distribution, devotee care, all the aspects. And Prabhupada empowered them and he guided them and he was with them, helping them, supporting them. And Prabhupada personally was also attending the meetings and allowing them to discuss and make decisions, and then Prabhupada will finally also give his decision. So, and sometimes when they make mistake, he'll correct also, and he'll change the decisions also. So in this way, Prabhupada personally trained all the GBC members to lead the society. Otherwise, after the leader leaves, then there will be a chaos. And we see that many, recently somebody sent a quote by some person, materialistic person who studies business models, and he saw that this ISKCON, although the founder has left, it is growing. But many other organizations, once the founder leaves, the growth becomes stagnated. They just maintain whatever the founder has made. But in case of ISKCON, it is growing and it is increasing more and more. He said, why? One of the reasons is that Srila Prabhupada made such a succession and he made such a system that naturally it grows. Right? Just like a tree, it branches and then sub-branches and then leaves and twigs are there like that. It's a Bhakti Vriksha, it keeps growing. It keeps watering, good nourishment is given to the tree, it keeps growing. Similarly, ISKCON is a tree. To the degree we do Shravanam, Kirtanam and devotees are enthusiastic to preach, it grows. And Prabhupada also made a system where individuals take responsibility. He made all temples financially independent. The drawback of centralized system is, okay, everybody depends on the center. They will give money, then it will grow. But here Prabhupada made that system that every temple is financially independent and you have to work hard to make your own temple or your own preaching. In this way, the responsibility lies with the individual, but the inspiration comes from the center. Right? The GBC body or the gurus and the leaders of the society and the devotees. So it's growing, it's increasing. So his conclusion of that article was that no, because of this system, ISKCON is growing. And Prabhupada is such a leader who envisioned that in future we are going to have centers in all the continents, all the cities of all the countries. So we need a robust system which will continue to go on for next 10,000 years. And only how many years has passed? 50 years has passed. So 60 years has passed. Srila Prabhupada departed 50 years back. So Prabhupada created a system which goes on for 10,000 years. That was his vision. And Prabhupada also said that my books are also law books for next 10,000 years. He wrote it with that vision, that anybody in the future will read this, will get the message, will be able to understand what this movement is. So he gave very much importance to the books and then to the temples and the preaching mission. So that's one of the qualities of a leader. And another quality of leader is mentioned in the next verse, where it is said that Priyavrata was so strict in his rule that just by fixing his bow, the arrow to the bow, people would fear, they would tremble, and they will lead a religious life. Okay, and all those who are adharmis, they'll flee away. Okay, they'll not be able to exercise their power or influence in the kingdom. So that was the kind of rule he did. So another lesson is that leader should be very strict. And strict in enforcing laws, especially in terms of governance. No? One should be very strict. Any irreligious thing cannot be tolerated. It has to be addressed, and the offender has to be given a punishment as per the degree of the offense. Some punishment has to be given. Otherwise, what will happen? If one criminal goes scot free, then others will also get a clue. Okay, I can also do and I can escape. So that kind of attitude will develop, and then the whole society will become chaos. There will be chaos. Why? Because nobody will follow the rules and regulations. You can see in some countries, nobody follows traffic rules. Why? Because chalta hai. But in some countries, as soon as you break a traffic rule, 10,000 rupees fine. Heavy fine is imposed. And once a person gets a fine, throughout his whole life he'll never break, because fine is so heavy. In one particular country, one devotee broke the traffic signal. He got a fine of 70,000 rupees instantly, And next time, when the signal is far away, I'll stand 5 meters away, he said. Who will take the risk? So sometimes rules are good, strict enforcement of rule is good because it brings discipline. But just strict discipline is not good enough. Because people will live in constant fear. There will be no happiness. There will be constant fear. There may be external discipline. Externally, they will be following all the rules and regulations. So internally, there will be fear and there will be grudge. Right? So what should the leader balance the strictness with? Love. Okay. Then affection. Then sensitivity. Okay. Because if the leader is only strict, people will follow. Till the time he is there, he is observing, they will follow. But when he is not there, they will do whatever they want. So in order to inspire people to follow him happily, he has to balance it with other qualities which you just mentioned, like love, compassion, sensitivity, and care. All those things also should be there. Otherwise, people will get fried out. Eventually, there will be rebellion, there will be strikes, and there will be, impeachment. Impeachment means they will remove the president or the king from the post forcibly. So, such kind of things will also happen. So, that's why leaders should balance strictness with these things also. And elsewhere in Srimad Bhagavatam, this is mentioned. There's another word. It comes in Gaya Maharaj, where he says Prinana, Lalana, Anushasana. Savai Swadharmena Prajapalana Poshana. So Gaya Maharaj, he was doing very wonderful. So King Gaya gave full protection and security to the citizens so that their personal property would not be disturbed by undesirable elements. So king should give protection also. Right? He may be strict in enforcing rules, but if some citizen is in trouble by some thieves, he should give justice. Like for example, when one Brahmana, he was herding cows and then his cows were stolen by a thief. And then he came running to Arjuna. And then he asked for help and protection. And what Arjuna did, immediately took his Gandiva, bow and arrows, sat on the rath, and then he chased that thief, then captured him and released the cows and brought back and gave it back to the Brahmana. So immediately that protection has to be given, not that justice is given after 20, 30 or after dying. So what is the use? So one should address. So one of the quality of the king is he addresses issues quickly, very fast. He doesn't delay. And citizens also appreciate that. Quick and correct response is appreciated. Delayed response, they'll also get frustrated. He also saw that there was sufficient food to feed all the citizens. This is called Poshana. So he should give sufficient food. Free food also can be given. Three things can be given free. Food can be given free. Medicine can be given free. Education can be given free. And justice free. These four things should be given free. So ideally, but in Kali Yuga it's opposite. These four things are the most costliest. Right? Yesterday one father had come with a daughter and he wanted to put his daughter in medical college. And he was telling Prabhuji, the fees now is very high, Per year medical fees is 25 lakhs per year. And for 4 years it becomes 1.2 crores, 1.2 to 1.1, 1.2 crores. Heavy fees. So after graduating, after putting so much of money and graduating and then doing MD, MBBS is not the end. Go on and on. It's almost like 10 years of marathon studies. And then you become a super specialty doctor. Then you open your hospital and try to get back that money what you are invested in studies. But you're studying on the other hand, for meritorious students, there is free education also. Like AIMS gives yearly fees 1 rupee for merit students. So he was telling Prabhuji, medical field is only for those who are very meritorious or those who are very rich. For in between, it's not an option. So anyway, but for qualified people, that free education, and for needy people, free food and justice and medicine should be offered free so that people have no anxiety for these basic needs. Then he would sometimes distribute gifts to the citizens to satisfy them. This is called Prinana. Right? On special occasions, he'll give cows in charity to the Brahmanas, he'll give some gold, he'll give some land, he'll give all whatever, according to their nature, whatever is useful, he was giving in charity. So Prinana. And the citizens becomes very happy, because when there is Dadati Pratigranati with love, so then people become happy, that relationship becomes more thick. So because king is satisfying their needs, whenever king demands something, they'll follow. Isn't it? Shri Radha Vinod ji ki jai, Shri Jagannath Baldev Sudra Maharani ki jai, Shri Nityananda Natwar Gaur Sundar ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai. He would sometimes call meetings and satisfy the citizens with sweet words. This is called Upalalana. So he will speak sweetly and then he will also encourage them, and give some guidance to them, direction to them, like that. He would also give them good instructions on how to become first-class citizens. It's called Anushasana. Shasana means instructions or advice, or rule, governance. So Anushasana. Such were the characteristics of King Gaya. King Gaya's royal order. Besides all this, King Gaya was a householder who strictly observed the rules and regulations of household life. He performed sacrifices and was an unalloyed pure devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He was called Mahapurusha. See, Priyavrata is called Mahamana. We'll come to that word. It's called Mahamana. Gaya is Mahapurusha. Because as a king, he gave citizens all facilities, and as a householder, he executed all his duties so that at the end he became a strict devotee of the Supreme Lord. As a devotee, he was always ready to give respects to other devotees and to engage in devotional service of the Lord. This is the Bhakti Yoga process. So, Priyavrata Maharaj and all the descendants are also following devotional service. Even Swayambhu Manu also is wonderfully following devotional service, which you studied in the 4th canto of Bhagavatam. It is described how Manu Maharaj was doing his bhakti. And then Priyavrata Maharaj, how he was doing his bhakti. And then his descendants, Gaya Maharaj is also doing wonderful devotional service. Not only devotional service, but wonderful governance as well. Due to all these transcendental activities, King Gaya was always free from the bodily conception. He was full in Brahman realization, and consequently he was always jubilant. Even Priyavrata Maharaj also it is said that he was on Brahman platform. He didn't consider himself to be body, he considered himself to be spirit soul. Externally, he was ruling the kingdom very diligently. He was acting like a householder, right, satisfying his wife and children and taking care of all the household activities. But internally, he was self-realized on the Brahman platform. He did not experience material lamentation. Although he was perfect in all respects, he was not proud, nor was he anxious to rule the kingdom. So you can see the similarity in the qualities of Priyavrata Maharaj and Gaya Maharaj. So the point I was telling is that the king should be strict, but at the same time, he should also balance it with these wonderful qualities. Pridana, Lalana, Poshana, Anushasana, these things. So when you apply these qualities to a spiritual leader also, so one should also, like you can learn from Srila Prabhupada, a spiritual leader. Now here the qualities of Kshatriya leader are mentioned, but Srila Prabhupada also, as a spiritual leader, he also followed these principles. Like he was very strict in enforcing 4 regulative principles. No meat eating, including egg, fish, meat, or he specified, and tea, coffee also. No intoxication, including tea and coffee. And then he also, no illicit sex. Marriage is allowed, but illicit sex, not allowed. And we gave very clear definition also. Sex before marriage and sex outside of marriage. Very clear definition. And then, no gambling of any sorts. So Prabhupada expected all the devotees to follow this very strictly. The more strict we are in following these rules and regulations, more happy will be our Krishna consciousness. Radheshampuru says that if the wood is dry, it will catch fire quickly. Dry grass catches fire quickly. But a wet grass, it catches fire slowly, at the same time it gives smoke also. Similarly, wood is dry, means our Krishna consciousness is intense, means it's called dry wood. Right? Our consciousness is full of Krishna, means dry wood. So we can very quickly, easily practice Krishna consciousness. And wetting the wood means wetting our consciousness by thoughts of sense gratification. And thought of sense gratification means enjoying tendency. Right? I want to enjoy material sense pleasures, material sense gratification. Such kind of desires are compared to wetting the consciousness. And when you wet that consciousness, bhakti becomes difficult. Right? Reading, chanting, hearing becomes difficult because the mind is contaminated with these unnecessary desires. But if the mind is free from such unnecessary desires, and Krishna consciousness for such a person is very easy. Anandam buddhi vardhanam. Right? But for those who are in between, those who are wetting their consciousness, it is very difficult. Right? What is that verse on Bhagavatam which says, two people are happy? Yascha mudhatama loke, yascha buddhe param gata. Right? Ubhayostu, tau ubhav sukhame dete, klishyanti antarito jana. A beautiful verse from third canto of Bhagavatam. Here it is said that two people are happy. Yascha mudhatama loke, the grossest fool, mudhatama, best among the fools, is happy. कुछ फर्क नहीं पड़ता. Right? Whether he passes in the exam, fails in the exam, कुछ फर्क नहीं पड़ता उसको. यश्च मूढ़तमा लोके. And those who have studied very nicely in the exam, उनको भी फर्क नहीं पड़ता है. पेपर कैसा भी हो लिख देंगे. But those who have not studied, they are in anxiety. I want to pass, but I have not studied. I want to get the seat, but I am not qualified enough. So they are miserable in between. So yascha mudhatama loke, yascha buddhe param gata. Tau bhau sukham edhete. These both are happy. Klishyanti antarito janaha. Any between people are happy. Right? So pure devotees are nicely chanting, dancing. Yesterday we were reading Bhagavatam. Gopakumar sees his guru on the bank of Yamuna and he is chanting and dancing in ecstasy. Right? But sadhakas, right? We have such difficulty, no? We don't experience that ecstasy, no? As one of my was telling yesterday, 16 ho gaya, mala hang kar diya. Abhi next day, the mala becomes heavy on the neck. You can't carry it throughout the day. Chanting is over, then hang it. Right? Again, next day you take it. So why it happens? Because you don't have the taste. Because there is desire for sense gratification. But pure devotees, they don't have the desire for sense gratification. They only have desire to serve Krishna, so they happily go on. Ananda Mudhi Vardhana. And for those who are non-devotees, they seem to be happy because they are fully into sense gratification. Really, they are enjoying something very happily. But those who have become devotees and not experienced the limit of Krishna consciousness, the highest extreme of Krishna consciousness, they are miserable because they have not tasted the ecstasy. At the same time, they still have the lingering for sense pleasures. So they are happy, they are unhappy. Right? And they know theoretically that sense gratification is miserable. So they can't enjoy it. When you know something is not pleasurable, you can't enjoy it nicely. And at the same time, one has not reached the limit of Krishna consciousness, so he is hopeless. When will that day come? Kabe habe bolo? Se dena amar. Aparada guchi, sudana me ruchi, kripa, bale habe, hriday sanchar. And there will be tears in the eyes and the trembling of the body and the standing of the hairs on end. So these are ecstasies which one hankers for, but it appears very far and impossible. And he doesn't want to go back. So in between he is suffering. So what we have to do is we have to quickly go to the other side, reach the limit of Krishna consciousness and not go back. And how to do that? By the association of devotees. Like if you are swimming alone you will get tired. But if you are swimming with a group, then you will have some support. So you can take support of some people, then you can go. Especially swimming upstream. It's very difficult. Right? Once we were in Chitrakoot and we had a competition. Who will cross this Mandakini Ganga? So the Mandakini, it's a very slow flowing river. So then we, from 7-8 brahmacharis, we jumped. We went to the other side, touched the other side, took some 5 minutes, and then we sat down there, and then again we started coming back. And one strong brahmachari reached first, and all of us were going slowly. And then one brahmachari, he started telling, Prabhu, Hari Bol, hands started lifting like this instead of swimming. And it was just 10 meters away. And that strong brahmachari jumped inside, caught him and brought him. So all of us have our own capacity, So we can go to some extent. But alone we cannot reach the shore. So we need support of people who can pull us, who can help us. So in this way, association is that support. If you are in good association of devotees who are encouraging, inspiring, and even correcting when you make mistakes. So such kind of association is helpful to reach the end of Krishna consciousness. So, yeah, I'll go back to the verse. Yeah. So Priyavrata Maharaj is so strict in his rule that impious people were checked. Even Parikshit Maharaj also was like this. Kali Maharaj personally was there. Kali could not exert his influence. Adi was personally present on the planet. And we are talking about this is Satyuga, Priyavrata Maharaj. But Parikshit Maharaj came in Kali Yuga, at the end of Dwapar and beginning of Kali. At that time also Parikshit was so strong that Kali could not exert his influence. So one should be strict. And then what will happen, even if this, I was talking about Prabhupada being a spiritual leader, he was very strict in enforcing these rules and regulations, but at the same time, he also gave the ecstasy of Kirtan, he gave nice prasadam, he gave nice gulab jamun, he gave, Prabhupada said gulab jamun is like ISKCON bullet. Right? If somebody takes a gulab jamun, then he'll forget the taste of all other foodstuffs. So Prabhupada even encouraged devotees to eat as much gulab jamun as possible. I have heard that Prabhupada used to keep a jar of gulab jamuns at the exit. Right? In case somebody becomes little frustrated, सुबह 4:30 उठना पड़ता है and attendance लिखना पड़ता है and transient punishment होता है and then Bhagavatam class also they take attendance and then so many rules and regulations are there. Oh, I'm too frustrated. I'm get choking. Let me go out. So Prabhupada saw this may happen. So Prabhupada kept gulab jamun. Then he will take one. Oh, let me try one more day. He stays back. And in this end, Prabhupada encouraged devotees by other means also. Because if there is only strictness, then people may practice for some days, but it will not be sustainable. After some time, it becomes harsh. So, these rules also should be balanced with care and love and good dealings. No? Dadati pratikranati guhyamakachi purchati bhungte bhojayete eva chadividha pritilakshanam. So that has to be there. And Prabhupada also personally cared for devotees. Somebody was sick, and then Prabhupada also prescribed medicines. Prabhupada had a pharmaceutical background, so Prabhupada prescribed some medicines. One devotee had an injury in the leg, and Prabhupada wrote a medicine and then he gave money also by this. He was so much care. He went to such an extent also. Sometimes he personally cooked also prasadam. I had that Mishra, Mayavadi, who was teaching yoga. He was sick. And Prabhupada personally went, cooked for him. Prabhupada cooked for himself and him also and made him healthy. And Mishra was grateful. Although Prabhupada didn't accept the philosophy, but he was very personal in dealings with him and cared for him, isn't it? So our philosophy may be very strict and very lofty sometimes, but it should also be, practically, what is it called, practiced in the association of devotees, and that's given in Chaitanya Charitamrita. The culture of devotional service and the dealings is given in Chaitanya Charitamrita. So we can try to imbibe of some of those qualities which will help us to remain strict in bhakti, at the same time also enjoy bhakti. Chaitanya was very strict in some cases. He was very strict. And in case of Chota Haridas, in case of Damodar Pandit, in case of Kale Krishna Das, he was very strict. He took very strict, stringent action. But at the same time, he was also very loving, caring, and affectionate. So both aspects Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught. Some cases cannot be compromised. You have to be very strict in dealing with issues. But then one can also balance it with care and a culture of care and devotion. So another point mentioned here at the end is that Barhishmati, the wife of Priyavrata, she was a very good, chaste wife, and she knew how to support the husband. But sometimes when the husband is taking too much of responsibilities, he needs support, he needs encouragement, he needs that he needs that encouragement. So she understood the mentality of the husband and also supported him accordingly. Like sometimes we see in the cricket match or any other football match, there'll be some people cheering them, calling their names and encouraging them. So what will happen? The spirit of sports will get encouraged, will get inspired, and their performance will improve. So that's why some people are staged there to cheer them, right? So why? Because it encourages them. Similarly, all of us need encouragement, inspiration, support. So especially Grahastha needs that support from his wife. So that's why it is mentioned here that Queen Bharismati increased his energy by her wonderful qualities and dealings. Yeah, so Prabhupada mentions here. Yeah. Brahmanas and sannyasis do not need encouragement from the opposite sex. Kshatriyas and grahasthas, however, actually need the encouragement of their wives in order to execute their duties. Indeed, a grahastha or a kshatriya cannot properly execute his responsibilities without the association of his wife. So, kshatriya has to get married. Right? Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Shudras, marriage is compulsory for them. So, Brahmanas, there is an option. They can remain brahmachari and take sannyas because they can go on alone. But for Kshatriyas, they need a home and they need Ata, Graha, Kshetra, Suta, Apta, Vitta. All this is needed. All these facilities are needed. Only then they can perform their service. For Brahmachari or a sannyasi, with one simple locker and one bag which he carries, he can live throughout his life. He can go any part of the world and live. That much is sufficient because his psychophysical nature only needs that much. He doesn't need more. But for a person who has a grahastha mentality, he needs a wife, he needs a home, and then car, and bank balance. So then with that support he can do service, and because his psychophysical nature is satisfied, and then he can perform his devotional service. So that another lesson one can learn from this last section of this purport. And then last line, Prabhupada says, that we may think, oh, Priyavrata Maharaj is attached and he has his family and is attached and he is sensitivifying. But no. Actually, however, he was fully conscious of his position as a spirit soul. Although he seemingly behaved like a acquiescent karmi husband, Maharaj Priyavrata thus ruled the universe for 11 arbudas of years. So he ruled for such a long time. Externally behaving like attached, but internally fully Krishna conscious. So with this I'll pause here. In essence, we discussed mainly 3 lessons. One of the duties of a leader is to give a successor. And Priyavrata Maharaj gave 3 successors who became Manus. And he also gave 3 sannyasis who became sannyasis and preached. And he gave 3 Manus and 7 children who ruled the Dvipas, Sapta Dvipas of this Bhumandala. So he gave very powerful leaders, both Sannyasa Ashram and Kshatriya Ashram. Kshatriya. And then, second lesson is that leaders should be strict in enforcing discipline. At the same time, leaders also should balance it with culture of care, Poshana, Priyanana, Upalalana, Anushasana. So these things also should be done. And the third thing we discussed is about the ashrama, brahmacharya ashrama and grahastha ashrama. Everybody needs encouragement, and especially Kshatriya needs encouragement from family. So they are allowed to have family and also sometimes more wives. So depending upon the responsibility he is taking. Because Kshatriya ruling the entire Bhumandala needs many children to take care. So they have many wives and also have many children, and then take care of the responsibilities. Hare Krishna. These were some thoughts from. I am not as expert as Banavali Guru, who prepares nice slides. Okay. Hare Krishna. Any comments, Sadhu Chandaguru? He is doing wonderful preaching in Davangere. Massive Rath Yatra. Prabhuji does every year, year after year. And nice center is coming up there. Yes, Prabhu. Yeah. Yes.
How to know that we are not attached to our managerial side?
If you are allowed to step down, are you ready? Yeah.
That happens very rarely.
Yeah.
Nobody does and continue.
It's how, one easy way to know whether you are attached to something is when you are told to give it up. Then then our attachment is tested. Suppose somebody is having a post and he's told, Prabhu, can that devotee take this post and you can take something else? Then if there is any resistance, if there is little resistance, it means that I was attached. Of course, sometimes the resistance may come that I did so much of service, and will the new person who comes, will he be able to do better than this? That kind of thought is good because he is concerned about the service, isn't it? But if he is saying, oh, I only have to do this, if I don't have this post, people will not respect me. If I don't have this post, then what I will do? So such kind of things, if thoughts are coming, then there is sign of attachment, right? If a child has got a mobile, is playing, if you take it up away, he cries because he's attached to that. They are attached to toys and all. Similarly, big people are attached to big toys. Post, position, prestige, all those things. But then you see Priyavrata Maharaj, Uttanabad Maharaj, Dhruv Maharaj, they did their responsibilities, but when the right time came, Jaho Yuvaiva Malavad Uttama Shloka Lalasa. About Bharat Maharaj, it said he gave up the kingdom just like we give up stool in the toilet and come out. Like that, Jaho Yuvaiva Malavat. Like you disposed stool, like that he disposed the kingdom and went away, never looked back also. So it means he was not attached. So he went to doing his further duties. Similarly, leader, whenever he is doing some service, he is not attached to that service. He should think, okay, who can do this service? Let me do something more, and something more and more and more. That's how he thinks. I hope it answered your question. Any comments, Prabhu? Chaitanya Prasad. Hare Krishna. So we'll end here. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam Mahapurana ki jai. So if you get time, please chant more. I have a special request that on 12th there is eclipse, and if devotees can chant more rounds, then we can pray for the health of Maharaj. Hare Krishna.